this contract? I thought Tammy was attending, trustee Walters.
Oh, I actually think I did attend that meeting.
Oh, okay, okay.
There was two, there was one to review the RP and the initial proposals, and then the one to approve the service agreement. I think you were only at the one with the service agreement.
Right, so I wasn't at that.
Yeah, you weren't at the previous one.
Mhm.
But so as far as MD Marketing Solutions, I mean, we looked at the three proposals that were in front of us at the time. So, I mean, there was no discussion as far as altering or changing them. We just looked at them as how they were presented. So, I mean, what I did as the person that was submitting the RFPs was answered a lot of questions with each of the proposals. So we had the best apples to apples comparison. We could get the costs as low as possible. So I tried to do a lot of that work up front. But at the meeting itself, we didn't talk about changing numbers. We just assessed how presented.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
I guess one more thing I'll offer is just historically, I think the conversation around ad rates at the, because I've also served on the editorial board as part of that, it's kind of a package deal. And the conversation there historically has been just a dealing, you know, because it's community to community, there's just a lot of sensitivity around, you know, the comfort level of the advertisers and the rates that we charge. And there has always been an acknowledgement that, yes, we are lower, we're very good value. These are all the benefits that the advertisers get. And I think what I'm hearing too is, and it makes sense, that with a newer board, you know, you're ready to be more assertive and aggressive around raising marketing rates, ad rates, and I don't think that that's a problem. And I think actually the editorial board and the market leadership board and the advisory board would all take that as a positive. You know, I think that that would be embraced. It just wasn't presented specifically like that. It was really, I think that the desire to control costs and reduce the contribution was really taken as a global thing, not necessarily do it this way. And so again, I think that's just a different interpretation of the charge. I think the charge was met, and you know, and I can understand from this vantage point, now that I'm wearing a different hat, that it doesn't seem like a reasonable response. But I think there was a lot of integrity in the process, and that historically there has been a lot of discussion about ad sales and a lot of really good conversation between the bid and the village and the school.
And I definitely really appreciate that, and I think that.
If that helps.
Yes.
It's not to influence either way.
But I just think, like, for me, I'm looking at all of these other things that we are thinking about not doing.
Exactly.
And so if there's a way that we can be a little bit more competitive and be a little bit more in line with our next door neighbor and what they're charging for their
Sooner
same.
rather than later.
Yeah.
We'll get there over the 3-year
Right.
contract,
But
but
I mean,
you'd like to
for
get there sooner.
2019,
Exactly.
you know, we're really struggling, and
Yes.
we're making some hard choices about police vehicles and a lot of other things, and so, you know, I think every dollar counts, so.
And I guess I'll just, and I will, then I'll go back to letting everyone speak in turn, but that definitely, that level of sensitivity did not come in. And to be honest, that level of sensitivity wasn't there. We didn't have this. And it's, you know, so that wasn't part of the process, and you can be critical of that. And you could say you should have known. It's just, it wasn't an intention not to know, but I think this is a very different budget discussion than it even was 6 weeks ago. And this happened in September. So just to kind of give, whether we can get to that, I think what I'm trying to understand is there a way that we can get to that competitive advertising rate within the procedure and the time frame that we have, you know, given how this operates. And I just don't want to set anybody up for something that they can't do legally or.
Thank you. Trustee Warren?
And I just wanted to, I'm gonna make my point very quickly because we are starting to get late here. But I think Trustee McKay makes very good points, along with Trustee Carpenter. Every dollar does count, and we have to be cognizant of that, and this board is very sensitive to that. That said, I do see progress here from 58 to 4475. You know, I'm inclined to vote nay, as Trustee McKay is. just because I think there's been progress here, but I do want to make clear the fact that we're going to be looking for savings, and it's something that this board is really going to be paying attention to.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I have a question procedurally. Would there be a way, I believe there was another multi-year contract that we looked at and we kind of agreed that we would take it for one and then renegotiate because that seemed like a better
Crossing guards,
crossing guard.
sorry.
Yeah, we kind of, we were able to break that down for one reason or another. And I don't know if that's an option before us tonight so that we could sort of take the win in the reduction that we have, but really look at it being much more aggressive next year, or much more competitive.
I'm in favor of, I think we're giving greatest flexibility by letting all three of the bidders match the intent, if that is the will of the majority of the board. Otherwise, we could recommend another bidder that matched that criteria, because we do have three proposals here. This is actually giving more options to all three current bidders beyond, to match it in any way they see fit. It could be less pages. I don't think it specifies by raising advertising rates. So it's actually giving that, it's not making a decision, it's giving more flexibility to come back and meet the reduction in any way they feel. It's kind of like we do with departments. Can you reduce your budget? Tell us how you do it. So this is, in my opinion, it's more fair than waiting a year. Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Can we just read the question?
Yep.
Sorry. To refer back to the Marketing Leadership Committee and indicate that the village board is amendable to a subsidy of $2,000 per year for the next 3 years.
Is that strong enough? Nathan just walked in the door. I just want to make sure.
Sorry, it was,
That's okay.
The attorney has some questions.
Because I did second, the question was, basically we have a proposal in front of us that has a $2,000 subsidy for Shorewood today. And we want to send it back and give the other bidders the opportunity to match that. So they could do it by hiring the advertisement rates, which looks like the obvious, but there could be other measures. Does that motion capture that?
No, I wasn't saying anything about, I was just saying send it back to that committee.
Okay.
And that we're willing, that we're up for 2,000, and if they want to add, if they want to go with a different bidder, they need to come back and say, because it has to be back and forth, so they have an opportunity to say, let's raise advertising rates, let's add more advertising space, or let's go with a different bidder.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So I'm just throwing it back to them
Sure.
and letting them come back to us saying, basically,
They'd still have to go up.
this is as high as we can go, at least this round of negotiation.
So if I understand correctly, the responses to the request for proposals of the Senate of the village, the responses were based on a certain level of subsidy from the village and looking at,
Was it?
Was it specified in the
Yeah,
RFP? No, it
no.
wasn't.
but I don't think, so you want to enter into an agreement, but,
Nope.
okay, so exactly what is the intent of the motion?
So we have three bidders. One of the proposals has a way to produce this magazine at a subsidy level from the village at $2,000.
Okay.
All partners. It would be all
Each partners, but yeah, so to lower the subsidy from all partners. So trustee Menta is saying, go back and match that, give every opportunity to the bidders or to the marketing leadership committee to say how to do that.
Right, I mean,
But
if
to get
they
us-
say we want to keep it exactly the way it is, so we'll each kick in extra, and village, you can pay less.
They
Maybe
can do
that's
that
what
too.
they'll say, maybe they'll say, okay, let's change their advertising rates, or maybe they'll say, they could say a lot of different things. So I just think we need to say, this is, given our budget reality, this is more than we are willing to pay for the next 3 years. Here's what we're willing to pay, and let them come back with whatever, however they want to solve it. I don't want to
You can
prejudge
decide how
how
to solve
they
it.
do it.
Okay,
That's how I interpret it.
okay. And can you just read the motion then, just to make sure that that encompasses it?
Yep. To refer back to the marketing leadership committee to indicate the village board is amendable to a subsidy of $2,000 per year for the next 3 years.
Okay. Everyone's okay? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, girls. Great information. Next item on our agenda is, where are we? Here we go. Consider printing services. Do we do that now or no? Correct. We're going to defer that item. Defer, is that the right way? Okay. We will defer that item to a future agenda. The next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or does anyone want to pull anything? No? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda today? Okay, seeing none, we will move to new business. And are we into, oh, yes, Ms. Lopez.
Yeah,
Oh, you need to come to the microphone, state your name
yes.
and your address.
Jennifer Volquez, 4331 North Alpine Avenue. This is kind of in relation to this publication, this Shorewood today. I was an art director for years and years for a magazine, for a trade magazine, and then a consumer magazine. We also produced newsletters. And I believe I told Rebecca when she was interviewing for the job, I would love to see a newsletter that comes out twice a week for every resident that's in town. Now, I know you don't have any money, but I'm throwing this into the suggestion box. And it would be more newsy, and it would actually cover any sort of pressure these guys are getting for some sort of like timely kind of things that are going on in the village. And that could be a down and dirty. When I worked for this trade magazine, we did a monthly magazine. A 4-color was 88 pages. It was quite a magazine. And then we had 2 newsletters that went out a month that the members of our association received. And it had nothing to do with village stuff. It was all about office machines. But anyway, it was really appreciated, and it was quick. It was 1 color on paper, and it was sent out like folded up like a letter, and out it went. Now I know everything's online these days, but you're missing a lot of people, obviously older people and stuff like that. So anyway, just for the suggestion box.
Thank you. If you have an example you'd like to forward to Rebecca, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll look around Rebecca.
Thank you. Anybody else have any items they would like to discuss? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to new business, which are we doing budget now? Correct? So I will turn it over to Trustee Amenta, who will lead us through the budget process. I've forgotten the
We just have debt service and, let's start with debt service. I'm sure everyone studied this carefully. Does anyone have any questions about the debt service budget?
I do.
Go ahead.
So Mark did do some follow-up, our finance director, to a question that I had been asking through email. So you sent it, I believe, to all the trustees. And the question earlier in budget was just how do we show how much debt service is rising or lowering in total as a percentage of our operating budget? Or I don't know if that's the right word, operating budget, but our general fund budget. No, it's the subsidy. You know, we cap it at 5%, but then, so if you put them together, what is our total debt service as a percentage of? I don't know what that right word is. But you did send it out, and it was it seemed to be consistent with other places that I've looked at, which was like 22% And what, 22% of what?
Something in the neighborhood of 18% of our tax levy goes towards that.
So I just remember it in the 20s. Okay,
There was
maybe over
a
time.
lot of material in the last several weeks, I don't know the specifics,
I think the 20 was because you included the reserves.
Right.
reserves, so that would have been a little higher
Yeah,
number.
That's what I'm saying, the two together, what we utilize for debt service.
Okay. Any questions about the budget?
Well, is it shown in there? That's what I'm asking.
I think she's suggesting that might be a useful thing to show in the budget.
So year after year, we know, so I know we subsidize our debt through our reserve, but it would be helpful to the reader when we talk about, our borrowing and what's going on in the next, which will continue until legislation at the state changes. So I think it's very important for me as a reader to see, is it going up, is it going down, what is going on with our debt levels? Yes.
So would your suggestion to staff then be that on page 94, we add an extra graph that shows debt service payments